your neighbor. It all starts with one person, and you can make that change. And that change is for the better humanity of the human race in these pandemic times, historical pandemic times. And what I'm asking people right now, just turn that key over in your head and think of any type of, not only just homeschooling, everything. Everything has been changed. Me and Queen Summer was just discussing about how do you people cannot see the change of the future. To get this discussion to try that is compatible with homeschooling, I do think and I have faith that schooling might come back. But I do think when it does come back, I'm talking about with the vaccine coming out and less people having COVID and COVID just vanished away, I don't think what we was used to of sending our children to school will be the same as into the future. Well, I can imagine some things that they will have different, maybe continuing checking temperatures, continuing to have the 6 feet distance apart, continuing to have face masks on, and that's just going to be what I assume will be the normalcy of the future of life, the future of life with humans. And I ask, if you start turning that key over and you start seeing that the future will not be the same as past, therefore you can start transforming your mind to the future. Or where can you put your part in? It's all kind of positivity opportunities that's in your grasp right now. Some of the opportunity might be a simple invention. Some of those opportunities might be something simple as teaching your child that when that person come up with the idea that was low cost, you would like when you see it on Shark Tank or Kickstart, it is compounding to become the new wave of technology, the new wave of life. And once you start seeing that and start thinking about some of the questions that I'm asking my people to start thinking about, what do you think that would not be the past tense way of doing things?
So you ready to get into this next topic of single parents?
Queen, yes.
Okay, so of the 11 million families with children under the age 18 and no spouse present, the majority are single mothers. That's 8.5 million in the United States. Single fathers comprise the remaining 2.5 million single parent families. Married couples make up 68% of all families with children under 18, compared to 93% in 1950.
Wow.
And many single parents feel that there is still a social stigma when it comes to single parents, even if a person is a single parent by choice. And that's where we are right now.
Wow. Well, one thing I can add on to that, to the society problem of that, I will give it a solution, but right now we'll talk about the problem or the history of it. In the history that I have collected from it, I see a plot, or that's what I would call it, plot or investment. And that investment has changed the culture, a way of living. I mean, a lot of people look at the past like, I look at the past like that was the good time. I don't know, as more I get into my research, whatever I would come up with the conclusion in my mind, all I do know what is the answer to that is to embrace the change and bring back the goodness. And the only way, like I was stating before, homeschooling was you have to know the past to know the present, and the present will lead you to the future. Once you learn that past of how we was doing things, how things was with single parents, the top it is now. If it's a high percentage of single parenting going on right now, it's going to be a community effort to bring a change about that. And what's the best time for it? Right now. The history of it, I could talk about days of who to blame or how it happened, but that's a whole nother episode.
We'll be here all night long.
But I will give you a taste of it, of by reason of why it ended up like this. If people don't know the past of it, like I was stating,
in 1950.
In 1950, there was a lot more unity, and maybe it might be an evil force, or maybe it might be a government, but whatever is the force behind it, the goodness shall prevail.
That's right.
And when I seen things being taken out of communities, I seen the welfare queen books. I have read plenty of them about people
inheriting generational poverty.
All these avenues had led up to what is the forefront of you seeing a single mama out. And when I see that single mama or single father out, I see like they have a expression on their face, why? And how is this happening? And why is I falling in the same footprint of the previous generation that I was? I actually see this on people's faces. It's hard. I mean, like I said, before COVID-19, it was hard on a single parent right now. And for right now with the COVID, that's why that change topic about, like Queen Summers was saying, you can't stick a change, make a person change, or not help them to see the change.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So all you can do is try to do what we're doing on this podcast show, is maybe give you a touch up on some history.
And make you aware of the fact that transitional changes is advocating for you, not against you. And we're advocating for more awareness of everybody. Everyone needs to see, acknowledge that your presence is here as well as a single parent. Because it's not always going to be a married couple or a 3-parent household or a 4-parent household. It may be just a 1-parent household with 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
And you are someone.
And some of those situations wasn't caused by a systematic reason. Some of them might have was in the Iraq war or loss of life on different situations, or anything could happen to where a parent is alone with 5, 6, 8, 1, 2 children. And that is hard. But that's why we cannot prejudge people that you see in public that is going through this. If it is to a person to get involved with somebody, I would say give advice, give a helping hand. That's the most humane thing that you could do to help a single person out.
And many single parents have mentioned that they struggle with loneliness and isolation. And often the dynamics of dating are so challenging that people choose to stick to themselves. Many adults do not want to date a full-time single parent and share attention with the children or bother to try and blend a family. Which makes me think about the animal kingdom. What does the lion do when he's getting ready to meet a lioness? And she already has children by the other king of the jungle.
Oh, that's savaging.
Okay. All right. That sounds a little bit like this dynamic.
But Queen, I would say that with that type of scenario, I would lean more of that being more systematic, like a construed plan that has been illustrated to a community or to a culture. Most of it is with the African American culture.
Well, I mean, you can say that, but I'm going to say single parent families in Europe have been one of the most hit by the COVID pandemic, especially in relation to financial stability and work-life balance. There are 9.2 million single parents in Europe right now, caring for one or more children who are being constantly overlooked. So this is not just United States-based single parenting. This is all around the world. And with that many numbers, there are more single parents in Europe than there is in the United States.
And I would say this to that community that's over there in Europe. If you have the ability, please write TC Mission speaks@gmail.com and express what is halting or what has made your struggle harder, even before COVID-19 or while in COVID-19. And the reason why I said that, Queen Summers, is the example that I was saying before was there are different governments.
Yes.
There are different governments that I have not experienced to live in for a long period of time, but I have studied and seen and have knowledge about the hardship of lower countries that have not have half the riches that the states have. And that trickled down to the community of that government. And maybe that might be one of the reasons why that European families are more of having single parents. But over here in the states that I see, my assumption or my opinion is that it leans more of a systematic ways with the African American community. Not to say that's the only community that does go through single parenting. For the ones that have the same story, that is not biased towards what color there is, it is plenty of hardship stories of a single parent raising a family of 4. There are many stories of a single parent going through the struggle to help the well-being of their family. And I would say this, that is something that I led to in homeschooling. The reward becomes yours. And no matter how far you have fell down in that pit, no matter how bad the devil is on you or how bad the negative energy that's around in your environment is around you, your kids will influence you. Of a large majority of families that I know and that I see and that I feel will do anything for the survival of their children.
Right. And I'm going to read a review from Evelyn. She's in Toronto, Canada. She says, I'm a single parent by choice and conceived both of my children using donor sperm and donor eggs. While I chose to take this on, I never could have imagined solo parenting through a pandemic and the stress it would put on working families with the closures of fundamental societal structures such as daycares and schools. A few months ago, I had to take my 10-month-old for a COVID-19 test as she had a runny nose and suspicious rash. Her doctor advised me to go to Sick Kids ER in downtown Toronto where we live. She told me to call ahead as I might not be able to bring my 4-year-old due to new safety regulations. Sure enough, I was told over the phone that no exception could be made, even for a solo parent. According to the Sick Kids website, certain exceptions to this rule are allowed, but apparently my situation didn't qualify. Instead, I was told to leave my 4-year-old with someone else. The assumption was that there was someone else, and this was before we were allowed to make social bubbles. Who would care for my 4-year-old during a pandemic, especially if our family was potentially infected? My 77-year-old immunocompromised mother, what friend, neighbor, or sitter would or should take that risk? I ended up having to break social distances rules and hire a sitter to sit in the underground parking lot in my car with my 4-year-old. She read to him until he fell asleep as this was bedtime. Thankfully, my baby tested negative, but I was disturbed that my 4-year-old was not welcome at Sick Kids. What if I needed to rush to the ER and didn't have time to organize a sitter? And this is the daily struggle of a single parent.
Wow, that is amazing. Well, I would say this, and I'm going to say something that ain't got no numbers to. Like some people say, well, I got 3 reasons or 3 ways that can be solved. I'm just say some things that hopefully inspire people to embrace this change.
Yes. And I'm just going to say for the sake of reckoning, it's very hard to put your feet in shoes that you cannot fit. And so I send my prayers, my best wishes to all of the single parents who are listening to our show right now. because I could imagine